Hey. Hey, little Scrinton. Whoa, what the fuck? That's some freaky looking spider. What the fuck? That's like weirdest looking daddy longleg I ever seen. Okay. Okay. Am I heard? Can I be heard? Let's hope so. Well, let's not. It doesn't matter if I'm not heard. This is an attempt to update the Ray's Mundane family. Life's lessons for me have been experiential much more than they have been in recent years. The past 4, 5, even longer, 6, 7 years, most of my experience came from being with myself and learning things through videos, through books, through online, and having contact with not many people in the real world physically. And the last over 2 months now, while I've been in America, I have been living a life of learning through interaction and experience with people. More than any other type of learning. And it's been good, it's in the sense that everything I'd learnt prior in the past years has been now, I guess, tested in the real world. I'm applying it to to life. Kind of reminds me of that saying, it's like you don't really know something unless you can teach it to someone else. It's like I only kind of knew these things, but now, rather, I didn't know them properly yet. I knew them, I knew the knowledge, but I didn't have the application yet. And so now I'm in the real world with people, applying my mind to how I think I should live, and the feedback I get is how people interact with me in response. And going by how people interact with me, I feel like my knowledge is it's coming to fruition in a sense. Like I spent a lot of time learning things, but it really comes down to basic things like being kind to people, treating others like they are the being we are, caring, and caring for yourself as well, living for what is in your heart and not quelling that at all or quashing it. So with somewhat confidence I now have from the past 2 months of working with people, spending time with people, spending maybe a handful of nights sleeping alone, which is very rare. For me to spend that much time around people is... well, I wouldn't have anticipated my ability to do it so well, but I was thrown into the fire, and when we're thrown into the fire, we can do more than we expect. We adapt to that. We adapt to the stresses of the world. The mind will adapt to whatever task you take on. And so with this ever more clearly a reality, the fact that to take on a task, our mind will expand to it, will take its shape, like water to any kind of vessel. The question arises: several questions arise. One of those questions is, well, to what limit can I apply my mind to in terms of grandness of a task? Let me omit that to what limit can mind expand to any given task? That's one question. Question 2. Here's where it comes into the more individual my realm. What do I want? Or what do you want? Because these questions should be as equally important to you as they are to me. Maybe not right now, but eventually. Because the first of those two questions is, I guess it's a thought experiment, but it's a thought experiment that begs us to act it out in the real world. Why not take on... holy fuck, that spider's crawling on me. Alright, it's just crawled away. Jesus. The hell was I saying? Yeah, it seems like a thought experiment to say, well, the mind could fill any task put to it, but it begs me, at least, to be like, okay, that makes sense. Let's test it in reality and the reality tests I've done so far have told me, yeah, that's how it works. So why not is another question. Why not attempt as grand a task I see envisionable? Why not? The why not tends me to answer like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. The let's do it leads me to think, okay, well, what? What is it I really want? Because the more grand you scale the task, the more of your life is involved. And so if you're going to involve like 95% of your life doing something, you got to really want it. Your heart's got to be in it. And then I think this comes to another train of thought. If your heart's not in something, it does. For me, if my heart's not in something, it doesn't feel right. I mean, that's the same statement. That's just two ways of saying the same thing. If something doesn't feel right, your heart's not in it. What I'm trying to say is that following one's heart becomes perhaps a challenge in the conventional way of living life, social standards, etc., etc. But you need to follow your heart. So conventions must be broken. Conventions referring to just patterns that we become associated with and accept without questioning. You know, even ones like, you know, me thinking in my head that I couldn't spend time around people, and then being forced into that breaks that convention, because I know now that that was not the truth. I can be around people. My mind can expand to that. Take away the my, I'm sorry. The mind can expand to that. Okay, jumping back to what I was saying. To follow one's heart. To achieve a grand task with one's life. I think it's simultaneous. Like, I don't think it's you come up with one task and you're like, oh, that's the one thing I'm going to do for my whole life, then I'll put everything into. It's not like that. Each and every moment forms a history. History is not conceptualized 500 years prior and then built up to, but rather it occurs naturally. When I say history, I don't mean like history recorded by man, or I mean history as existence unfolding over time. So in that way, I don't think one decides on a goal for their entire life that they think their heart to be behind, and then just with absolute discipline and determinism just completes that goal. I think it's rather that in each moment one tries to be more and more in tune with their heart, what they feel to be right for them, and the more they act in this way, the more that leads them in the right direction. You know, I don't like using these terms of like, this is going to be better, or this is going to be what, this is where you need to be, blah, 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 because I don't think it's like that. But they're just the best words that we have to point to what I'm trying to say. If you follow your heart, you're going to be led where your heart is leading you. Like, it's hard to say such simple things when we're used to, you know, pretty complicated language and stuff. Our language is very complicated. But for it to be as simple as follow your heart. I don't know. It's hard to accept, I guess. You need the experience to back up that belief. By the way, motherfuckers, this is rambling. I know it. But, this is how my mind is at the moment. Kind of the reason why I haven't posted anything for like 3 months plus now. That, and obviously being in America for the past 2 months and just, well, you know, I have had the time because I could have done it. I'm here in Georgia right now, being housed by the beautiful Wade family. They yeah, wonderful people, allowing me to stay in their house, putting up with my awkward ass. I'm very grateful. That spider's coming back. Hey, you want to follow me again? No. Please. So, following one's heart. What does following one's heart mean? Well, you desire things. You can't really say why you desire things. Absolutely. You can come up with theories. You can say, oh, this was in my past and that was like this, and so that makes sense as to why I want this, blah, 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 blah. But these are still all just theories. They're maps of the territory. We don't actually know why we feel or want the things that we feel or want. And so that, to me, kind of begs a mysterious question in the sense of, well, if these wants and desires, we can feel them deep within ourselves, yet we really cannot ever absolutely put a pin in them and say, oh, this is that. You know, if we could put a pin in it and just say, oh, this feeling is just that, we can just put that aside and not worry about it, you know? But I can't do that with a lot of my inner feelings. A lot of my inner feelings are ones that I have to follow, because if I don't, it just feels too wrong. Like, I guess, not too wrong, but the desire within me that I cannot explain to go in a particular direction is too strong for me to build up some intellectual defense to say, let's not do that. Because why would I? I can feel it deep within me, being led there. I can't explain it, but that very explanation, that very inability to explain it to me, is a kind of profundity that leads me towards it even more. So that's why we use a term like follow your heart, because it's not something you can actually reduce into rational sense. It's irrational. We feel something, we cannot allocate it to an exact meaning, therefore we cannot compartmentalize it and put it to a side. We feel it so strongly and pure from coming within us that we need to walk such a way or act in such a way or set up such a task of living for ourselves that we just have to do it. And perhaps those feelings in some people aren't as strong or don't exist in the same way, and so they're not led in the same manner. But I feel led in that manner. I feel led by a heart which is at many times irrational if we compare it to the conventions of the world. But it's led me well, motherfucker. Bending the conventions of the world, of society's conventions, social conventions, etc., may have led me in questionable directions. But ultimately, I don't look back at any part of my life and say, well, that was wrong. Because, as I've just stated, to follow one's heart, it's beyond what you think to be right or wrong. It's what you feel to be profoundly beyond right and wrong. It's just that which must be done. And there are some things that, they light a fire so hot within that people like us might die if we don't, cease to quench that fire. Perhaps that's what a lot of suicide is. They feel they have something they need to do in this world, but whatever it is, society, family, conventions of whatever nature, don't allow them to. And they are too locked within that structure that they can't find a way to break convention and still, feel morally right with themselves. And so they'd rather not break convention, they'd rather not feel morally wrong with themselves for not following their heart. They'd rather just exit. None of this works. I'm sure that's the case for some. I can't speak for all, obviously. Nor can I speak for in any case, because I'm here and I'm alive. Let's go for a walk. I don't know. I don't like to talk much. Only when it comes down to the following your heart thing again. Unless I feel something is really necessary for me to say in this moment, I'm not going to say it. Which is why I don't feel bad leaving you motherfuckers for 4 months. You know? My heart didn't lead me to try and explain or teach or, communicate on this way for the past 4 months, and so I haven't. But then my heart reminds me, this is something we should do, and so I do it. And so I'm here. And so I've informed you somewhat on my mind state. But beyond that, I think silence is even better, Like, I'd rather say a little less than what's required than say way too much. I'd rather say a little less than what you would want, I guess, is what I'm saying, than just ruin the silence. So yeah. My thanks to all of you for existing alongside me in this world. That's a given. This motherfucking spliff keeps going out every time I light it. I've shared some stuff. Discipline, actually. Okay, let's talk about discipline. There's one last thing. Whoa. I think I had that upside down, but you know, I'll just keep it upside down. So I don't have to be flipping it. It's hard to explain right now because I'm still coming to my conception of it. But discipline is a word which I think has a lot of misconception about it. Or of what true discipline the word should mean. Or should refer to when we speak it. Because discipline in the way it is usually used, in the way I think about it, is like forcing yourself to do things when you don't want to do it. Now that is, to an extent, what it is, but it's put so simply and with words I can't really agree with that. I wouldn't want discipline if that is how... It's hard to explain, but let me try. Imagine a circuit board has so much energy. This is an analogy, by the way. I'm not an electrician. Shout out Joel, my cousin, he is. I love you, cuz. Imagine we have a circuit board, and it can have so much power running through it. If we want to up how much power we can run through this circuit and, you know, power more things, we need to make that circuit stronger. Maybe with more resistance in the wires or some shit. Again, I'm not an electrician and I don't remember the physics of fucking that stuff from high school. But if there's going to be more energy running through the circuit of something, it needs to have more ability to hold that, more resistance or more strength in the fucking circuit. Now, if we translate this as an analogy into human beings, the circuit is like structure, okay? That energy requires some kind of structure to move through, like water through some kind of creek or cut. What the fuck? A creek or something. It needs some kind of passage to run through. Otherwise, if it's static, it's not energy, it's not moving. If a human does not have a structured way of living, now this is where I'm linking it to the discipline. Those words right there, structured way of living, that is highly linked to discipline, okay? That's one aspect of it. But this is what I'm trying to say. Discipline is not just having the ability to do what you don't want to do just because you know it's right. You see, I don't work by those rules. There's no right or wrong. It's just what I feel to be. So discipline is not going to work in that way. Discipline has to have a bunch of descriptions as to what it is. And to reiterate, one of those is having some form of structured way of living. Now, let's jump back into that analogy. If a simple circuit can only carry so much energy, but a more comprehensive, stronger circuit can allow for more energy to flow through it, then that would say, in a human with a more disciplined way of living, or with more structures that they are actively living, like the more broad their structures of living, then the more energy that person can take on and live with. This kind of clicked in my mind from reading an Alan Watts book where he's talking about the obligations of the monks in a traditional Zen monasteries. Traditional Buddhist monasteries of any other type will have the youngest monks, the most novice, do the most hard labor, and then as they get older, they don't have to do so much work. Physical labor, you know, they have to do talks, they have to start teaching. There's different work they have to do, obviously, but they take on less and less burdens in terms of taking care of the temple, monastery life. You know what I'm saying? But in the Zen monastery schools, apparently, I don't know if Alan Watts is capping on me, if he's flagging on it, but it's the reverse of that. The novice starts with very little tasks to do, but as one gets more experience and one would hope more wisdom, they are actually tasked then with more labor and more duties. And the idea behind it is that as one gets more in contact with the energy of the world, more in contact with reality as it is without conceptualizing it, the more free-flowing the energy of life is to that person. And so a monk of 20 years is going to have access to so much more energy that they, in a sense, require a lot more tasks to be able to expend that energy. Otherwise, if they weren't doing a lot, that energy would be there for them, but they would have nothing to expend it on. And so to bring this little rambling to a close, discipline now seems vital to me in the sense that if a grand task is to be achieved, grand energy is also required to fuel that task. And a lot of energy cannot run on a circuit that is too simple and too small and that isn't expending that much energy. It'll just implode on itself. And so in order to access an increasing amount of energy, I simultaneously need to, and now this is becoming a more following my heart thing, because when something's just like a need for me, like something I feel like I need to do, then it'll be done, you know. If you tell me it's right, it should be done because it's right, I don't give a fuck. If you tell me it shouldn't be done because it's wrong, I don't give a fuck. But if I... got some gunshots in the background there. If I feel it in my heart, I'm going to do it. And this understanding of everything I've talked about in the last 20-30 minutes is making me just want to do this. I want to take on more tasks in the world so that I can expend more of this energy I have access to. And so you'll probably have me talking to you like this more, because this takes more energy than not doing this. But right now that feels like a good thing. Here I am saying a good thing. Well, you know what I mean. I'm following my heart, motherfucker. Let me know if you like this more journey style video where I saw a cat, we went for a walk, had spiders crawl on me, I talked, there was multiple cuts, you know. Let me know if you fuck with that, or if you don't care either way, you just want to hear my beautiful voice, then I'll just do the videos however I can in the moment, which I'll probably do anyway. But if you really fuck with this way, then I'll do it like this. I love you all so much. Let's not waste any more silence.